17, 21, 88, 99. Are these the magic numbers you're hoping will change your life? No, my friend. The real number is your inner state, and you've been ignoring it all along. Many ask, how do I know if I'm in the state? The answer is always feeling. Not excitement or shallow optimism, but the deep and quiet confidence that needs no proof. There is no longer a gap between you and what you desire. You feel that you already are it, and this feeling becomes your resting place. You don't force it, you surrender to it. You do not chase the desire, you merge with it. In imagination, you rehearse the scene again and again until it becomes more real than what the senses report. And then you let it go, not in forgetfulness, but in faith. They say winning the lottery is pure chance, but I tell you, nothing appears in your life unless it first appeared in your imagination. There was a moment, silent, invisible, private, where the one who won already wore the feeling of winning. They did not wait for numbers to align in their favor. They became the person who had already won long before the outer proof showed up. It was not luck. It was a state, an inner atmosphere they inhabited and wore as naturally as breath. And that state compelled reality to arrange itself around their assumption. They call it luck. They point to coincidence, probability, or divine favor, but never once stop to ask, what was the inner cause? The man who wins the lottery is not merely lucky, he is aligned. He has, perhaps unknowingly, assumed a state of consciousness that corresponds with wealth. Long before the numbers are announced, long before the ticket is drawn, he is already walking in the energy of reception. He may not articulate it, he may not speak of metaphysics or states, but deep within him there is a subtle agreement. He expects something extraordinary. An expectation, when felt deeply, becomes invitation. Everything visible begins in the invisible. That is the first law of manifestation. And just as the visible seed must first be buried beneath the soil before it emerges as fruit, so too must every outward event be preceded by an inward conviction. The man who assumes poverty and rehearses misfortune daily cannot expect abundance to erupt in his path, not because he is unworthy, but because his inner world does not make room for it. To win must first build the inner house in which wealth would feel at home. He must carry the vibration, the sensation, the certainty of prosperity. He must walk not as one waiting to win, but as one who has already received. Grief. The lottery ticket itself is not the cause of the wealth. It is only the bridge. The real cause is always a state of consciousness. To win is to have unconsciously or consciously stepped into a state where winning is normal. And states are not earned by merit or morality. They are assumed. The man who wins is the man who allowed the winning feeling to live within him long enough to express itself outwardly. Most people imagine winning as something that happens to them. They see it as an event caused by external forces, luck, or favor. But in truth, all events are echoes of inner states. The outer world is nothing but the mirrored surface of your internal assumption. When you change the assumption, you change the reflection. Therefore, the one who has never bought a ticket can still walk in the wealth consciousness that compels unexpected channels to open, while the one who buys 1,000 tickets without ever changing his inner state will encounter only more lack, more delay, more doubt. You must wear the state before the evidence appears. This is the great reversal that the world cannot comprehend. They say, show me, and I'll believe. But the law of life says, believe, and you shall see. To wear the state means to live from the feeling of already being the one you desire to be. It does not mean wishing. Wishing implies separation. To wish is to place the thing you want in the future, but creation is finished. What you desire already exists as a reality, waiting only for you to recognize it and claim it as your own. Every desire carries with it the mechanics for its fulfillment. You would not desire to win the lottery if the means to fulfill that desire did not already exist within you. The problem is not the desire, it is your identification with the wrong state. If you continue to identify as the one who lacks, the one who waits, the one who hopes without faith, then you are cementing yourself in a vibration that cannot bring forth wealth. But the moment you shift your identity to the one who has, who is, who feels the victory in the silence of their own mind, the world must conform to that assumption. The lottery winner feels the thrill before the ticket is drawn. He knows without knowing why. There is a peace about him, an expectancy, a subtle relaxation that only comes when one has surrendered into the fulfillment. He does not fidget with worry. He does not rehearse doubt. He is not overwhelmed with questions like when. He walks differently. He thinks differently. He dreams in alignment with his end. The process is internal. There is no external act, no ritual, no elaborate performance that replaces assumption. The assumption is quiet. It is invisible. It takes place in the secret chambers of your mind. You sit alone, undisturbed, and you enter the scene, not as an observer, but as a participant. You do not look at the winning ticket, you hold it. You do not hear someone else say you've won. You hear your own voice full of emotion, whispering, I knew it. You do not imagine the money in theory. You touch it, count it, feel the weight of the envelope, the texture of the paper, the thrill of deciding where it goes. These imaginal acts, though dismissed by the world, are the real seeds of all creation. This is why some win while others wait. It is not random, it is resonance. The moment you resonate with the state of the winner, you join the pattern of fulfillment. The outer event will come, not as magic, but as law. There is no exception. There is only the state. And the state is always yours to wear. Every event in your world is born from the state you occupy. The condition you call your life is not the result of circumstances, people, or fate. It is the direct expression of the inner atmosphere you have worn, often without awareness. The state is not an abstract idea. It is a living consciousness. It is the tone of being you fall asleep in. It is the silent conviction you carry through your day. And most people are completely unaware that they live not in the world, but in a state. And from that state, the world reflects accordingly. Winning the lottery is not about possessing the winning ticket. That is the effect. The cause lies much deeper. It is the inner acceptance of being a person to whom such fortune flows. One who wins is not striving, not begging, not doubting. They are in perfect union with the feeling that they already possess the thing. They are not waiting for the numbers to appear. They are not checking their bank account to validate their desire. They have gone ahead in consciousness and returned with the mood of success already secured. When a man changes his state, the world rearranges itself to reflect the new dwelling place of his soul. But this movement must be genuine. It cannot be mimicked intellectually. It must be felt as true. You are not convincing anyone outside of you. There is no one to convince. You are impressing only one realm, the subconscious mind, which faithfully reproduces whatever you feed it persistently and with emotion. Once impressed, it executes without deviation, delivering to you what you have claimed internally, regardless of logic, statistics, or physical evidence. The one who sees wealth as something external to be chased will forever remain in pursuit. But the one who adopts wealth as an internal condition, who feels abundance as the ground of his being, even while surrounded by appearances of lack, has placed himself in harmony with the world he desires. He is not tricking the universe. He is realigning his inner identity. He is saying without words, I am no longer the one who waits. I am now the one who receives. This shift may be invisible to others, but it becomes unmistakably powerful in its results. A state does not ask for proof. It does not require the senses to confirm it before it is believed. It is chosen and embodied often in direct contradiction to what the senses report. If you look around and see only death, you must still choose the feeling of wealth. If the mailbox is empty, you must still feel the thrill of receiving. If your surroundings are modest, you must still feel the grandeur of overflow. The moment you make that emotional leap, you are in the state. And from that state, life must draw to you the experiences that match it. Do not confuse action with assumption. Many act in desperation, buying ticket after ticket, hoping that motion will substitute for belief. But assumption is deeper than action. It is silent. It is still. It is the unseen shift of your inner I am. If you act without assumption, you struggle. If you assume without action, you attract. Let the action be born of the state, not the other way around. Let your doing flow from being. The feeling is always the secret. If you feel lack while saying words of wealth, the state you dwell in is still lack. The subconscious listens to emotion, not syllables. It mirrors the deepest felt conviction. So if you are to change your world, you must first change the vibration you habitually live in. And the only way to do that is through the sustained feeling of being the person who already has what he desires. There is a difference between wishing and assuming. Wishing places the prize in the future. Assuming draws it into the now. When you wish, you postpone. When you assume, you accept. And only that which is accepted internally can be expressed externally. The mind that accepts the feeling of winning now has already laid the foundation for the future manifestation. That future is no longer uncertain. It is merely waiting to unfold. You must clothe yourself in the feeling of already having won. See the numbers, hear the announcement, feel the emotions, the disbelief turned into overwhelming joy. Sense the shift in your reality, not as a concept, but as a living experience. Do this not once, but until it becomes your resting place, until you wake up thinking as the winner, until you walk, talk, and feel in alignment with the state. This is not daydreaming. This is the deliberate construction of reality. The state you occupy determines what you see. Two people can look at the same world and see two completely different realities. One sees limitation, the other sees opportunity. One sees obstacles, the other sees divine timing. The world did not change, the state did. And if the state has changed, the outer must eventually conform. This is law. It is not luck. It is not chance. It is not random. Your job is not to fix the world. Your job is to select the state. The world will mirror back the one you select and persist in. This is why some win what others call impossible, and others struggle in vain despite tireless effort. The difference lies not in effort, but in assumption. Not in action, but in identity. Assume the identity of the winner. Wear it faithfully, and you will find that the world, so long thought to be rigid, becomes soft clay, responding to your inner command. There is no lottery to be won until you first win the inner state of being the one who has already received. This is the secret too many overlook. They speak of goals and ambitions, of plans and persistence, but all their movement remains external. The truth is, you are not rewarded for striving, you are rewarded for embodying. The state must be worn before it becomes fact. And to wear the state is not to say empty affirmations or to play a role. It is to enter deeply into the feeling of the end fulfilled and to rest there as though it were already true. It is not enough to think about what you desire. Thought alone is not creative unless it is infused with emotion, belief, and identity. The state you wear is not built by fleeting desires, but by the deep and constant feeling that this is who you now are. To wear the state of winning means you have shed the skin of hoping, longing, and waiting. You have stepped into the body of the one who possesses. And from that new center of being, the world begins to echo the assumption you now live in. If you claim to want something, but your inner tone still vibrates with fear, doubt, or disbelief, then you are not yet in the state of having. The state does not allow conflict. It is whole. It is self-contained. It needs no convincing. To win the lottery, one does not beg for the numbers. They feel the reality of being the recipient of wealth. The heart beats differently. The breath slows in knowing. The world is no longer a battlefield, but a field of fulfillment waiting to express the inner law. The outer world cannot disobey the inner state. That which is planted in the subconscious must emerge in time. The time it takes depends only on how faithfully you dwell in the state without falling back into the illusion of appearances. Many begin well, they visualize, they feel, they smile with anticipation. But when nothing appears after a few days, they abandon the state and return to old patterns of doubt. This is not a failure of the law. It is the interruption of the seed's growth. No farmer digs up the seed to see if it has sprouted. He trusts the invisible process. He waters it with faith. He waits with knowing. To wear the state means you allow it to define how you walk, how you respond, how you think. It colors your imagination. If you were truly the one who won, how would you greet the day? How would you carry yourself? Would your conversation still be filled with complaints, or would they be saturated in gratitude? Would you fear bills, or would you smile at your capacity to bless others with ease? These are not small mental exercises. These are acts of alignment. And alignment is the magnet for manifestation. Many ask, how do I know if I'm in the state? The answer is always feeling, not excitement or shallow optimism, but the deep and quiet confidence that needs no proof. There is no longer a gap between you and what you desire. You feel that you already are it, and this feeling becomes your resting place. You don't force it, you surrender to it. You do not chase the desire, you merge with it. In imagination, you rehearse the scene again and again until it becomes more real than what the senses report. And then you let it go, not in forgetfulness, but in faith. When you wear the state, your subconscious is no longer in conflict. It ceases to sabotage your desires because it now sees them as familiar. Your new assumptions overwrite the old scripts of limitation. You no longer react to life from a place of lack, but from the surplus of your inner wealth. You do not need to explain yourself to the world. The state will reveal itself in action, in posture, in the gentle assurance in your voice, and those around you will begin to sense something has changed without knowing why. You must remember that every state is a vibrational atmosphere that determines the events, people, and opportunities that enter your life. You cannot draw to you the reality of a winner while living in the atmosphere of a struggler. You cannot magnetize abundance from the echo chamber of lack. But the moment you step into the state and say, "This is who I am now," the bridge of incidents begins. And what seems random is actually perfect orchestration, leading you to the end you already possess in imagination. Let go of the illusion of effort as the ultimate cause. Action is born from being, not the other way around. The one who has already won does not act out of desperation, but out of enjoyment. There is no fear of failure because the end is already secure. The actions taken from that state are natural and unforced. You meet the right person, receive the call, hear the news, not because you earned it through toil, but because you aligned with the version of yourself that already had it. To wear the state is not to escape reality. It is to reshape it. You become the artist of your experience, not by manipulating the outer world, but by mastering your inner world. You drop the struggle. You abandon the timeline and you step into the eternal now, where the thing you desire already exists. And when you live from that center, not just visit it, the outer world has no choice but to reflect it in full. The world responds not to the loudness of your voice, but to the steadiness of your assumption. The man who stands in silence with the conviction of having already received speaks more powerfully to creation than the one who cries aloud in desperation. Reality does not yield to panic or pleading. It bends to the one who knows. The quiet assurance of fulfillment is the only true language the subconscious understands. It listens not to words or drama, but to inner tone and persistent feeling. The outer world simply echoes what has been claimed within. When a person desires something deeply, the first instinct is to act. Do something, make a move, reach out, scramble to bring the desire into form. But this impulse to act is often rooted in the illusion that manifestation is a product of effort. In truth, every act must flow from the state of being. If the action is born of lack, it multiplies lack. If it springs from the inner confidence of already having, it becomes the bridge to its own evidence. But if the state is not firmly worn, no action, no matter how strategic or aggressive, can produce lasting change. The foundation must always be laid in consciousness first. Before you move, you must become still and shift the self. If you desire to win the lottery, you must enter the state of the one who has already won. This state is not a fantasy. It is not escapism. It is the interior construction of a new self-image. You do not visualize for entertainment. You visualize to claim, to possess, to re-identify. The moment you stop asking for it and begin assuming it is the moment you are heard by the creative depths of being. Those who chase results delay them. To chase is to confess separation. The state of chasing is the state of not having. And the subconscious does not question your logic. It obeys your emotional atmosphere. When you persist in the feeling of lack, no matter how clever your actions may seem, you are confirming a world where your desire does not exist. It must remain out of reach, for you have placed it there. But when you drop the chase and begin to feel from the edge as if the thing is already yours, the chase ends and creation begins. There is an art to stillness that is misunderstood. Stillness is not laziness. It is not inaction. It is surrender to the truth that you are the operant power, that all things flow from you, not toward you, that the world is not happening to you, but through you. When you become still, not only in body, but in mind, and you concentrate the feeling of the wish fulfilled into a single moment, you perform the most powerful act of all. You impregnate the subconscious with certainty. The feeling of already having is subtle but powerful. It does not demand attention. It is not theatrical. It is calm, confident, complete. It walks into the room with no need to prove itself. It answers questions before they are asked. It sees money before the account shows it. It feels health before the diagnosis changes. It feels love before the phone rings. This feeling, when persisted in, becomes your new normal, and life, being nothing more than a mirror, conforms to reflect it. One of the greatest misunderstandings is the belief that repetition alone will bring results. But repetition without transformation is empty. It is not the number of times you imagine, but the depth and sincerity of your absorption. Are you simply thinking about the desire, or have you merged with it? Are you observing it from afar, or are you participating in its fulfillment in your imagination? Have you entered the scene not to look at it, but to live it? You are always being heard by something deeper than words. The law of assumption never sleeps. It is always registering your dominant state. Whether you know it or not, you are always assuming something about yourself, and life responds accordingly. If you want to change the response, you must change the assumption. And to change the assumption, you must saturate your being with a new feeling of identity. Feel it more real than the chair you sit on. Walk with it, sleep with it, let it color your daydreams. When the doubt comes, and it will, you must return to the end, not to argue with doubt, but to dissolve it through the power of greater attention. Where your attention dwells, your world follows. And the one who can hold attention on the unseen truth rather than the seen lie will shape reality like clay. The moment you let go of striving and you begin to dwell in the felt conviction that it is already yours, you awaken a creative response from the universe that is invisible yet exact. The bridge of incidents will unfold, not as miracles, but as the logical result of your inner world being accepted as real. You will receive calls, make choices, meet people, stumble into places, and each step will feel natural. But behind every step is the invisible magnet of assumption, pulling the experience to you. You are not chasing outcomes. You are allowing them to come because they now recognize you as their rightful host. You were never meant to beg reality for crumbs. You were meant to create it. But that creation does not begin with action. It begins with being. Your state is your signal. It is the garment you wear before the feast. And when it is worn faithfully and confidently, the feast must arrive